Rev up your engines!
Christian Pete 1, I got an '06 Chevy HHR. Heard some GM vehicles won't work right with aftermarket radios. Yeah, you know, it's true. It's insane. For some reason, a lot of their vehicles, GM made it that the radio is part of the anti-theft system, part of the starting system of the car. And I have had people put aftermarket radios in, the car won't start. They tow it to me and I explained to them, you know, it's got the stupid interface for the starting system. I've also seen ones that they didn't even touch them. It's a factory radio, but something broke inside it and the car wouldn't start. I don't know what these GM engineers have in their minds or stuck up their rear ends, but they're certainly not doing it right when they design stuff like that. That's just plain stupidity. And they've done it. V6 rice burner. Scotty, I heard that if the ground strap of your engine's broken, your wheel bearings can burn out. You know, that sounds crazy, but it's true. You got to have a good strap from your negative terminal of your battery to both the body of the car and the engine. You don't. Then ground is going to seek all kinds of sources. And since the tires are on the ground, it can even go through the wheel bearings. Make them run hotter, make them burn out. So what you want to do is every once in a while just check your ground straps. It's very simple. They'll corrode at the battery, clean them, or if they get loose, tighten them up. And then the other end, they just bolt on. You can unbolt them, see if they're rusted or corroded, make them all shiny again, and then put them back on again. It's an easy thing to do. And it's often neglected on older cars. People don't even think about it. James Royal the first, and he says, I recently replaced the catalytic converter on my Chrysler. Mechanic tells me the catalytic converter is tripping a code that it's bad. What could be wrong? All right. Well, the first thing is it's a Chrysler. And unfortunately, what people need to understand about catalytic converters is they burn onboard hydrocarbons so you don't pollute. If a catalytic converter goes bad, unless you hear it rattling and it is physically broken and the pieces are rattling around inside, there's something that made it go bad. The engine's burning oil, the engine's running rich, the engine's running lean, fuel injectors are dripping too much fuel in, and that ruins the catalytic converter. Or somebody was dumb enough to spray silicone spray cleaner or using something like seafoam and pouring it right in the gas tank, and then it can mess with the catalytic converters. They go bad because there's a reason, and odds are with yours, you got a serious problem. Ask your mechanic who said you need a catalytic converter. Again, why is this going out? They don't generally go bad on their own unless I say they break and you hear them rattling. There's a reason they go bad, and if you just replace the cat, you'll just keep replacing them and replacing them. Williams GMC, if antifreeze gets into my engine and I catch it in time, do I have to replace the whole engine? If you catch it in time and it didn't damage anything, you won't have to, but here's what you have to worry about. Your combustion chamber, as the piston goes up, it's compressing air and fuel spray. So that compresses pretty good. If you got a whole bunch of coolant that leaked inside there, when it goes up and it still has to go further, if it's pushing against coolant and the valves are closed, it still can push because the engine's got to spin. It will bend the piston rods. Goodbye, it'll run like crap. So if you find that it still runs good now and you change the oil and filter and you're not getting any foamy oil water mix, yeah, you can continue to drive. You want to pray that not too much got inside there. I'm at 9903 says my '07 hybrid Camry with 187,000 miles is not getting as good gas mileage as it used to. Okay, it's a hybrid. Often that's the big giant battery, the really expensive one. As they get older, they lose percentage of their power. And as they do, your gas mileage will go down. I see that all the time in the hybrids. Now, it is a hybrid. It's not a full electric car. So you want to check the spark plugs on your regular engine. That's a gasoline four-stroke engine, the air filter, stuff like that. But if they're all okay and it runs perfectly fine, odds are your hybrid battery's starting to wear out. And then when you find the price of that hybrid battery, you might just live with a little bit worse gas mileage. Wilhelmina G says, Ford F-150, I was going down the road and the speedometer just stopped working. All kinds of lights came on. All right, you want to pray that it's just the speed sensor. There's an electronic speed sensor on a transmission that measures how it spins around, sends an impulse to the dash, and makes the speedometer work. Now, even though your speedometer looks like the old-fashioned kind that had a speedometer cable, it doesn't work that way. The signal on a transmission is digital, and it goes to the dash, and the dash changes the digital one to a stepper motor, and the motor turns it. So it's actually turning, but it's not directly with the cable. You want to pray it's just that, because if it isn't, it could be something's broken in the transmission, and then you won't get a signal from the sensor. Pray it's a sensor. It's simple. You can unbolt it, buy one, put it on yourself. It's a very easy fix. Easy rider, Scotty, why does the low oil light come on in a 2007 Express, but it's full on a dipstick? No one knows things. Just change the oil pressure sending unit. They don't cost much. Bolts off, bolts on. That could fix all your problems. If that isn't the problem, then you basically want to go to a mechanic like me. We put our actual oil pressure gauge on. That's a physical one that gives the actual pressure. And if you do have low oil pressure, that can get super expensive. It can be a bad oil pump. It can be bad bearings worn in the engine that have a bigger space, so oil takes up a bigger space that makes the pressure go down. You want to pray it's just the oil pressure standing here. From my experience on those, it often is. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.